Perhaps you've rewatched this intro, or are you already thinking about it, or I found the right video, or do we need to scroll further? Now, take this fact into consideration. You're thinking about it, yes. Hello, this is for you. Most people assume that people who overthink. Excessive anxiety can simply be stress. Generally, like biting your nails. Except it's not about your nails, but about all social occasions. The interaction that has existed between you since 2009. But this approach completely ignores reality. What is really going on in people's minds right now? People who, apparently, cannot turn it off. Once you understand the truth mechanism, you will probably feel it's something you haven't felt in a long time. It would seem that someone has finally invented it. So let's begin. Go ahead, actually. Your thoughts are the network, which researchers call the default mode. The network of situations that feeds into the present moment. You are no longer focusing on the outside world. Self-reflection and projection into the future to reminisce about the past and read social media. In situations where people overthink, this network is noisy and runs continuously. Extremely noisy. That's it, in short. This version, but certainly the most interesting one. The question is not which brain network is involved. Because of their involvement, this will not stop. What exactly is your objective? Because the brain experiences no signal interference, but do something amazing advanced. There is something extremely important. The difference between productivity, the reflection, where it actually moves in conclusion, and what psychologist Susan Nolan hawks amid decades of research and invitations rumination, during which he goes through a cycle of the same ideas are repeated without access to everything. You don't have that access. The ability to solve problems, that's what you practice. A problem that recurs repeatedly over a short period of time. Different styles, but none are effective. His research concluded that the concern it's not just about feeling bad right now, but also about. This reinforces negative emotions while you find yourself in it, and that's what makes you who you are. The risk of them becoming infected is very high. Depression develops over time. Thought this doesn't take emotions into account. He preserves it in the form of amber. The frustrating paradox is that the reason you keep thinking is that some part of you believes that if you think carefully and thoroughly, and you will eventually find the solution. Choose the characteristic that makes it acceptable. Unfortunately not, but you'll at least try. At 2 a.m., when you need to be awake 7 a.m. Many people who overthink grew up in an adult environment. Environments where uncertainty reigns, it's somewhat dangerous. No need to exaggerate. But in the common sense of ignorance, what state of mind might the person be in, or whether you are aware of it or not, that's right. Your brain learned that very early on. Thanks to her foresight, she remained standing. It was an intelligent and adaptive system. The problem is that you're still doing it in situations where this is not necessary. In a supermarket, in a text message, in a meeting where someone was in charge, the expression was somewhat ambiguous, and you were compiling a complete file. The brain makes no distinction between a real threat and a societal scenario. You have exceeded the permitted limit. Cortisol is cortisol and your body's reaction to it. That's correct. This part, therefore, tends to slope downwards. This varies from person to person. I am guilty myself, so listen to me. There is a specific form of excessive thinking. This relates almost exclusively to other subjects. People, or rather, how they perceive you. I would say, where you are constantly running simulate the behavior of others, the feeling, and what they might think, that there was a misunderstanding in a sense. Restarting conversations is like searching the moment when you could have hurt someone by accident. You type, then you start again. The messages, not because you can't receive them. The wording is correct, but as you try to take into consideration all possible methods, it's possible that it will simply be received. I'm sure someone will receive it. Looking at her, I thought to myself, oh, that's me. Okay, don't worry. It's actually a form of deep empathy at work, only no switch. Think about it for a moment. The last time I had to cancel appointments with someone. An ordinary person writes, "So sorry, could you reschedule the appointment?" Then press the send button. In about 9 seconds, with a small margin of error, the worried person opens the letter and writes. He then reread it and decided to apologize. This means they made a mistake. He rewrites it without the word sorry. Then he fears that this will sound harsh and repeats it once again. He goes in and stares at the word move out. I wonder if that sounds arrogant. He wrote 3 completely different things. Send a copy to a friend in exchange. Get a second opinion. then go somewhere else. Between the 12th and 25th minute, he sends something practically identical to original. And then finally, immediately they read their own message and wondered if the landing goes smoothly. The hardest part is, this excessive attention paid to others this often means that people who overthink are the last to make a decision. They agree on the same level of they offer their condolences to everyone. You will spend 40 minutes trying to convince them. My friend, they are not a burden, and so, stay awake and try to convince yourself of it. You are one. The same spirit, but with a different set of characteristics. They invented their own rules. There is also this mysterious phenomenon. Psychologist Daniel Wiegand, this has been demonstrated with great skill in what later became known as the polar bear experience, where you try not to think. Something is about to make a comeback. He stated, it is almost impossible to escape. Participants should not think of a white person. The bear. They succeeded, not without difficulty, but at the moment when oppression was lifted, these thoughts returned with more force than if they had already come. I never tried to send it back. Oppression gave rise to a religion, and that means every time you told yourself stop worrying, every time someone kindly suggested that don't worry, I was preparing mentally for the idea that the floods will return worse than before. It's really ridiculous, but it certainly wasn't your direct fault. Something should be mentioned. People who overthink will tell you they have nothing. Problem of making quick decisions regarding things they consider insignificant, or I don't care, I like what I eat tonight. It's mainly about things that relationships are important to them. Options that seem to be overflowing, with the result is that everything stops where it stops. This indicates something important. Mental rumination is not simply random background noise. It is a process of introspection. This corresponds almost exactly to their estimate. What they fear losing, and who they are love, and how they want to be perceived. Your fear knows what's important to you. In short, the goal is to present it in the most horrific way possible. In an unimaginable way. People who overthink. Furthermore, many of these structures are complex. The relationship to comfort. Of course, yes. Enjoy it like everyone else, but silence takes away the only thing that remains. Thoughts are controllable and can be a source of distraction. As soon as you sit down, or try sleep, or the cessation of information consumption, the work is piling up. So make sure you stay busy, because it's the only volume control you have. I've found this method to be effective, and the longer it takes, the longer it lasts, the harder it becomes. To be somewhere without being directly there. I'm trying to escape from this place. Understanding why you worry too much won't help you. It's supposed to stop automatically, but it doesn't. That's the starting point. Raising awareness is the goal. Where do I start to ask better questions? Questions, not solutions. On the contrary, but what exactly does this idea consist of? He's trying to protect me from him, but will he succeed? Is the threat still present? Because most time is irrelevant. The danger lies within your brain. Research is underway to find traces that may have disappeared over the years. Before that, what remains is something very important. A deeply ingrained habit. The goal is not a calmer mind. Perhaps not. Pursuing him only makes things worse. A layer of frustration. The objective is more ambitious. A sincere relationship with ideas, you should be able to recognize a spiral shape. And I say, I see what you're doing. I know why you're doing this, and I'm leaving. To determine which part of my evening you will spend with me. I understand perfectly. This is no small matter. That's about it. Just one last question. This thing, and I only remember things that I use it myself, there's a link in it. I think the package description is many of you will find this very useful. This is a set of 7-day travel guides, and urban planners base their plans on the elements that most people who watch this kind of content, the content is handled calmly. Free yourself from the mental burden and regain your balance. Your brain produces dopamine, which causes them to stop. The desire for constant noise and its effective resolution. Sleep instead of worrying. Improve your sleep, rebuild your life. Focus on one day at a time. This gives you a specific daily routine, not simple information, and in reality, most publications in psychology ignore this aspect. It's also mentioned in the pinned comment, so I hope so. Take a look at it. And don't forget that. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the opportunity to see my future.